Greetings, heroes and Force users of all ages. Welcome back to Inside the Tauntaun, a podcast in the multiverse of fandom. I'm Melissa Simmons, and I'm joined today by my two pals, Dino Nicandros.
Hello.
And Daniel Dawson.
Hello there.
And today, just as we promised you all 18 years ago, we are talking about Dune, written by John Spates, Denis Villeneuve, Eric Roth, based on the novel by Frank Herbert, directed by Denis Villeneuve, and by God, we're Dune fans.
I don't know who you are or where you came from.
I am Iron.
I thought they smelled bad. On the outside.
Smells like a new car in here.
Inside the tauntaun, this is our opening song. Alyssa, Daniel, Dino, talking nerd stuff, come along. Inside the tauntaun podcast, please like and subscribe.
Oh my gosh.
It's been 84 years
It really has.
since we first talked about
This came out,
Dune.
what, at the end of October?
Yup, sure did. It's
that
been
when
a
I saw
busy season for us.
It's been a busy season.
It's been a
and
But the good news is that Dune is always relevant, regardless the time.
You know, I will take most of the blame for us being so late on Dune because I needed to finish reading the book before
Nerd!
seeing the movie.
Yeah,
you
what a
both-
nerd. I didn't do that.
You both saw. I'm halfway through the second book.
Dang. So you
which-
liked it.
I did.
The book and the film.
The book and the film.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to talk about it. Finally, here we
Yeah,
are.
me too. Finally. Now, I'm curious, between the three of us, have you all seen both the 80s, late 70s version? Wait.
Yeah,
What
it
was
was
it?
80s.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
sorry,
it
it
was
was
85. It was
80
84,
I want to say 85. That sounds right.
84 or 85.
Yeah, have we all seen that version as well?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yes, because I have several things that I want to talk about in that one as well. Just like, yeah, comparing and contrasting. But
Indeed.
But generally, I liked it.
It was beautiful to
Oh my
watch. I mean,
God.
just like
Oh.
visually, I felt like my eyeballs had.
Smorgasbord.
Yeah, it just was like I don't.
Yeah.
I don't even know where not to look because everything
a
is
sandy
beautiful.
charcuterie board of film. Did
With
you?
whirlwinds.
Delicious.
Yes, delicious sandy charcuterie. Did you see it on HBO Max, or did you see it on the films, or did you if you did see it in the films, did you see it in IMAX?
Yes, IMAX.
IBAX.
Atta girls.
On the biggest screen I've ever watched a movie. If you're
Yes.
listening and you live in the New York area, the Lincoln Square AMC has
That's
the
a-
largest IMAX I've ever
That's the
sat
that's
in,
the bet.
and-
That's my favorite movie theater in New York. That was where I
That's my place.
frequented the
That's the
movies
place
when
now.
I lived there.
So check this out. This film, I mean, before we actually get into the meat of the film and the whatever, but like there's a lot of things I didn't know about IMAX apparently. Well, at least one thing in particular that I had to do some research.
Mhm.
And because I saw like a tweet and I was just like, wait, what? Huh? The whole time? Apparently there are several, or at least two different aspect ratios
Oh, really?
within the IMAX universe even.
Oh.
Yeah. So there is like normal IMAX, and then there's like the big IMAX. I don't remember what they call it, but it's like yeah, and there's only literally only a handful of theaters across America that actually have that aspect ratio.
Were you on the giant? Did you watch the giant one, Dino?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
the giant one, and I believe one of the other theaters is at Universal Studios in
Exactly right.
LA.
Yes, that from what I understand, that's the only one within like a giant radius of where I live. I think the next one is in like San Francisco.
Oh, wow.
There might be one in San Diego, but I'm pretty sure that's the only of the giant one. So
Well,
I
yeah,
unfortunately didn't see the giant version.
You
but
just
I
saw
the
the
secondary
silly,
giant.
stupid, small IMAX.
Idiot.
Well, then I saw
small
23% more movie than you did.
You
So,
did.
Oh my gosh, you're 23% better than us.
But I will
Um,
say, like, man,
least.
because like when it goes from those, because obviously the film wasn't completely filmed in IMAX because that would have been real. I mean, it was already expensive enough.
That would
but,
take them forever and cost them so much.
yeah,
Yes.
and also for those smaller scenes when they're just like talking with people, like it's so unnecessary. But like when it really went into full IMAX, it was actually breathtaking. Like I
Yes.
audibly gasped numerous times just because it was just so
Yeah,
artful.
this
and-
has been the first film for me, and I know this is saying a lot because we, love Star Wars and Marvel, but this has been the first film for me, I think, since Lord of the Rings,
Mhm.
where I felt just so, like, sort of like, it was really breathtaking to me.
And,
Mhm.
Like,
and sort of like in the same way of like Lord of the Rings, where you feel like you've been like truly transported. And you're
yes.
like, ooh, I like it's a universe that I would really want to explore. Like
Mhm.
as like unforgiving and terrifying it is, like I would like be so into just like the culture, the technology,
Mhm.
or sometimes the lack thereof technology. Because like instead of using guns, they're using like swords and like I mean, of course they do have like some like pew pews, but most of the time it's the close combat stuff.
Mhm.
It's all just so cool, so interesting, and
Well,
I
and you
think
can definitely see where the inspiration came from Tolkien, and then how it passed the inspiration on to George
George
Lucas.
Lucas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
it all, and then even whether it's intentional or not, even Game of Thrones and
Sure. Yeah. Yeah,
just
it's
the
it's
idea of
pretty
feudal houses.
it was pretty wild reading the book because it was written in 1965 and just this sort
Yeah,
of
nobody remembers 1965. That was-
certainly not us but
Vietnam.
but the how advanced it was in the realms of sci-fi, just even like imagination of sci-fi.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yes.
wild to me because you think about, like, as I was reading it, I was like, wait, I kept having to remind myself, like, Star Wars hadn't happened yet.
right.
Like there were no, real huge franchises. There were no huge movies that
Yeah.
were in this style. So to have all of those things be coming out of one human being's brain is wild.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like it's got its own glossary of terms and words that don't exist in our world.
And then, interestingly enough, a great many that do.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll touch on this in our analysis, but how this is one of the first mainstream, not even just sci-fi, just the first mainstream stories that took a lot of inspiration from the religion of Islam
Yeah,
Yes.
totally.
and Arabic. The use of from linguistically speaking, Arabic and Hebrew
Mm-hmm.
and Farsi, and how many words, if not direct copies, are derived from those
Yeah.
languages, which is really neat.
Yeah, for sure. Let's, before we dive into this full convo, what were your impressions of Dune going into this movie? Like, you both had seen the 1980 something version.
Yes, and let me say, like, I actually, I don't know if I think it's got a very healthy cult following.
Oh, yeah, big time.
I'm one of those.
Yeah, very much.
I'm one of those folks that actually did enjoy the original film, and I like, I'm not crazy. I do understand its flaws.
Sure.
And like fundamentally like where they failed and in the storytelling and truthfully it was, and because I mean knowing the context is really important too, because like oh my, and I know that we've talked about this but we haven't talked about it on but like poor, oh my god, David, oh my gosh, the original director, I'm going crazy, David Lynch, thank you. Just watching his interviews, the poor guy, he's just so sad about it. He literally says it, like almost like his quote being like, "It was the worst sadness of my life."
Oh,
he says
jeez.
it, and then he'll say stuff like, "It was a nightmare." It was a nightmare. Like.
That's not funny at all. But
I
it is.
laugh only because it's so sad.
Yeah. Poor guy.
Yeah, because he like and truly, it's like it's one of those things. Like he's finally kind of gotten to the point where he can like sort of talk about it now, but it still makes him really uncomfortable and sad.
Sure.
But he from what I understand, he did not go to see the new Dune and had no like interest in going. And what had nothing to do with the production, obviously. But and so many people have been clamoring for him to do a director's cut of the original, and he refuses because he's just like, it's just like
it
the
would just
wound
be
is
like,
too
yeah,
deep.
it would just be like having to pick at scabs for.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And there's you know, and who knows? Like I at this point, the original film might not even still exist at this point because it's been so long. But long story short, too late. He basically made like a 4-hour film, and like that was kind of what he set out to do, and he spent a lot of money, and then the producers inevitably, and this was obviously lack of communication or whatever it may be, or just a lack of they did not see eye to eye on where the final cut should be, and the producers decided it was going to be a 2-hour film. And it is very, very apparent because like the first hour is like, oh my god, this is like, especially for the time, I was the technology is so cool. They're using puppets, they're using like all these giant set pieces and gorgeous costumes and weird ass shit, like just like that makes it so fun to go see. And then like the last hour of the film just feels like like as if they like fast forwarded through the entire book.
Well,
like,
and like I just think about that.
No,
that's so hard. I mean, the first book is 800 pages.
She's thick.
Like, how do you make a 2-hour movie that makes sense? That's really challenging. That's really challenging.
Yeah, and so I think that they and thank God for that. I mean, of course, you know, we're only halfway through now, but it does feel like they have learned from their past mistakes in the sense that they knew that they needed more time to tell the story. So in this version, this is part 1 of a assumedly 2-part series, unless they decide to do more of the books. But
well, and I was going to say, Denis Villeneuve said he has his plans drawn up for
all of
continuing on, and maybe doing like it'll be more than 3 movies, but a 3-story arc.
Yeah.
And it does feel like
Paul's,
like it's in the best hands it could possibly be in, because Denis is like, you know, first and foremost, even before he's a director, he is a Dune fan.
Like, big time.
And you can tell, like, when he just talks about it, like he even said in an interview, and I really appreciated this, that the person that he was the most worried about seeing the film was himself.
I get
because
that.
He's such a harsh judge of, like, you know, all things Dune, that he's just like, I like he was going to be judging himself the most harshly, I think. I mean, I guess a lot of people do that with their own work, but specifically about Dune, just because he's so passionate about it.
Yeah. As someone who read the book and finished literally a day before seeing this version of the film.
She's fresh.
I was blown away by his ability to get so many details from the book into this film.
Yeah.
That's a really hard thing to do with an 800-page novel. Like, that
Yeah.
is very challenging, and to have there really only be a list of I'm going to say 6 or 7 things from the film that things from the movie that didn't get put in. That's impressive. And they were also
But the
very
things that they cut
smart.
out felt like relatively. It's at least to you.
They were
felt necessarily.
Yes, they were smart edits, in my opinion.
Mhm.
The book, like, no joke, I think the first 300 pages is exposition.
Right. Just introducing characters.
Introducing
and
characters,
planets.
introducing lingo and just basic understanding and world building.
There's an emperor. There's a this.
Yes, all of these sort of political ties, as much as you can try to explain an entire political civilization in a
Right.
couple hundred pages.
Right.
So the fact that really, in my opinion, only about the first like half hour, 45 minutes of this film felt expositional was very
Mhm.
impressive.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there was a fair amount of exposition
Yeah.
for sure, but I mean, and it because you have to. That's like
Yeah,
just
I
what
mean,
the
it
book
would
is.
it would be insanely confusing if you didn't at least take a 45-minute to an hour to kind of build this world that we're going to be living in.
And there was barely any whisper acting, which was impressive, honestly.
Yes, they were. There was scant amounts of whisper acting. I appreciated that.
If you've never seen the original, which you absolutely should, please go
It's
watch it. But,
so
yeah.
much whisper acting.
Spice. We
Which
never got any
obviously
of that.
I saw that film first, and so as I was reading the book, that's all I
That's
could.
all you.
That's all I
that-
could hear.
all you could hear. Yeah.
Anytime the spice is brought up.
Yeah, so that was and truthfully, I mean, it like at the time, I'm sure it seemed like a good idea because like it's the because there is a fair amount, I think, in the at least from what I understand in the book about like, you kind of like get you kind of get into the characters' heads and they kind of like sort of
Yes,
tell you, like,
and
how they feel about certain things.
And other than like the really like the battle type scenes,
yeah.
most everything is a hushed conversation. So
Right.
I understand
Mhm.
why that happened.
So yeah, there is precedent for
Yes,
whisper acting.
absolutely.
Yeah,
But I wonder if that's just a kind of an example of why, for the longest time, this story, because of the perceived, I don't mean failures, but I'll say failures of the other adaptations, is that this story is unfilmable.
David Lynch would absolutely agree with you that it was a failure.
Poor guy.
Right, but some, as you were saying, Daniel, like it does have a devout following, and I don't want to take
Yeah.
away from
Yeah, for sure.
their reverence for it.
Yes,
But it's largely this story, and it reminds me of the Silmarillion, in that if you don't know what I'm talking about, that's basically the Tolkien creation story.
Oh, you definitely piqued my interest. Please go on.
But in the same vein that the Silmarillion is talked about, it's kind of considered unfilmable. Like there's,
Sure.
It's hard to fathom these characters, these environments, even the way they speak to each other realistically on screen. And somehow,
Because it's like, what
like-
story do you tell? Because there's so many
Right,
stories
right.
being
Yeah.
told.
and yet somehow I think this adaptation, as you were saying, Alyssa, talking about the edits, I think this adaptation kind of did it.
Yeah, and
Like
and you know what? On that point, and I think it was that's like a really good comparison because yeah, Silmarillion just like is, if you've never read it, it's just like a series of stories that happen, in the first and second age, and
I mean, it's the Bible.
it's basically the
it's-
Bible. Yes, the
Yep.
the Tolkien Bible, and in this adaptation, the newest Dune adaptation, Denis decided to. And in most successful films that that are an adaptation of a book or whatever, The successful ones find whatever story they think is the most important and just like really focus in on that one thing. Right. And then for this adaptation, and I think he even said this in his in one of his interviews, is that he was focusing on the relationship between mother and son.
Yes, which is a great call, because
it's a great through plot. It was very, very it was, you could tell.
Yes. The hype for this film was so real, and I was a little worried going into it, to be honest. Too. I mean, I think Dino, you texted us like the night of the like Venice Film Festival that there was like an 8-minute standing O.
Oh my God! Wow.
So
like they went nuts for it.
Yeah, and so I was like, okay, and I liked the 80s movie. I as someone who hadn't read the book at the time, I think I saw it maybe for the first time in high school, and I was like, oh, I feel like I missed a third of the movie, which we certainly did.
I don't know if I understood it, but it was cool.
Something's happening here.
And now it's raining.
Take a nap?
I don't know.
Did I take a nap in the middle?
And now it's raining, and
that's actually the best
good.
way to describe it. It does feel like by the end of it, like you
accidentally dozed off. You like dozed off, and then you like woke up, and you were like, oh,
or
crap.
Or someone literally spiked my Coca-Cola. And I just blacked out for part of the movie.
Oh my gosh. But
yes.
So I just want to say, like, before anything else, that I was trying to manage my expectations.
Yeah.
I liked the book so much, and so I was like, okay. But it absolutely exceeded my expectations, and I cannot wait to see what they do with the next film. Should we talk about the few little differences that were from book to this adaptation?
By all means.
And actually, I have questions for you too.
Sure, I'll do my best to answer them. So
this is a book report by
Allison.
My
gosh, I'm so scared. It's my book report presentation.
So just start with page 1, and we'll.
Oh my gosh. Did you guys ever have to do like book mobiles? Did you ever have to make little like book floats?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Oh, I loved making book floats.
Did you?
We had to do like dioramas.
Yeah, dioramas. We had it in my elementary school. We had
you
like
make them
a
out
book
of, like shoe boxes or whatever.
Yeah, we had like a book float parade. So
oh my God.
So yeah, of course, my mother, being who she is, knew how like the Rose Parade people actually made all the like stuff look like roses that weren't.
Oh my God.
So like my book floats were always
lit.
Really
they were all built and produced in Pasadena, California.
Right?
Yeah, in some warehouse in Pasadena.
Warehouse.
Yeah, with original music from a Disney composer.
Did you guys ever actually do that? I volunteered once to do one
You
of the floats.
did? Oh, that's cool. No, I've never done that.
Yeah, I'll never touch another, like, what was it, orange lentil seeds? Yeah, I'll never touch another one ever again.
No, I don't blame you.
It's too many. It's just, like, literally covered in glue and orange lentil seeds. I'm like, please get me out of here.
You're like, what's the soup of the day? Orange lentil.
Oh, God.
Jesus.
Sorry, you triggered him. He had a Rose Parade situation. Okay, so one of the biggest first things that I noticed in the book, each chapter each chapter is anchored by these little epigraphs written by Paul's future wife,
yes,
Princess Irulan, and they're sort of these like quasi historical texts about who Paul will become.
Sure.
So that is that's something that I know that Denis really struggled with, because he was like, do we include those sort of narrations of like voiceover of this person who we're not going to meet in this film?
It's confusing.
It's a little confusing, but they're very fascinating. And so for me, right off the bat, I was like, oh, we're not introducing the princess. Okay.
Mhm.
And also like the sense of oh gosh, what's it called?
sort of like,
destiny.
foreshadowing. Yeah, foreshadowing
Yeah.
like all these events that are
Right.
transpiring.
As far as like fantasy stuff goes, that is like the
Yes.
shit that I love.
Yes.
Like when you're like this seemingly no one is, well, he's obviously not a no one, but like, you know, because he's like the son of like a like really high up there political party.
Mhm.
But but yeah, like he's destined for greatness.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that.
Yes. The only thing that I was bummed about that didn't, and there has been speculation that there was possibly something filmed but didn't end up making the final cut, but that's
Interesting.
not been confirmed.
Speaking of that, I like Denis, give me a 4-hour extended edition.
Oh, yeah,
I will
we'll watch
the
it.
shit out of
We'll
that.
watch it. There is this scene right when they arrive in Arrakis, and there's
Okay.
it's a dinner party.
Oh, so this is
Um,
after like the what do you call it? Like the Scottish entrance with their
Yes.
Oh, what a freaking love.
with their bagpipes.
Yes, yes. So the reason that that's sort of an interesting scene is that Leto leaves the dinner party to go attend to something. He
Okay.
hears that there's some sort of treason, blah, blah, blah. And he puts Paul in charge. So this is like sort of the first time that we in the book get to see Paul as he interacts with all of these other sort of like powerful heads of state.
Mhm.
And yeah, there's some kind of other fascinating things that go on in that. You find out that as part of these like dinner parties that the elite throws, that they wash their hands, and you know the water situation, there's no water
Right.
there. They wash their hands, and then they go out in front of the like palace or grounds or whatever and pour the water out in front of the poor people
Isn't that fun?
and just dump it on the ground. And
yeah.
and Leto is like, nope, absolutely not. That's horrific, and it ends now. And all of these people are sort of like, well, that's the way that it's been done, and that's how we show our power and googity goggity.
Googity, but especially the googity goggity.
Yes. It's also the very first time in this dinner party that we meet Dr. Kynes, Liet Kynes, who's the, what is his official title? He's like the,
Oh God, I don't remember. This is the one that was played by a woman. Right?
yes, indeed.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't remember his official title right now, but in the book, it's a man, and the film is played by a woman, which great, here for it.
Absolutely worked and was really great.
I am sorry if this is a bit of a spoiler, but I am interested to see, because in the book, Dr. Kynes is actually Chani's father.
Right. I remember you telling me this.
So
yeah, that is.
I'm
that
not
is a
sure if
twist.
they're going to have, you know, we know that Kynes dies in
Right.
this.
Well, no body, but we kind of assume she got gobbled up
Kynes
pretty big.
Kynes is gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kynes is gone.
Yes.
She's now worm poop.
So I'm wondering if we are going
becoming
to
the
have some
spice.
sort of family link between her and Chani. If we'll find out about that in the next film.
Yeah, and if she'll even find out if like that she
right.
passed on.
One of the other differences with Dr. Kynes is that in the book, his death is very prolonged and drawn out.
Yeah.
He's left.
Oh, right.
He's
yes, we
left
talked
in the
about this.
desert with no still suit or water, and so he dies this like horrible, slow, painful death. In
But
this
it's like
one,
very poetic.
yeah. In this one, we got worm chomp.
Gobble gobble.
Yeah. Another noticeable difference, which I'm sure will be addressed in the next film, is that Paul has mentat training. So the mentats are essentially like living computers. We did.
Oh yes.
We did meet 2 mentats in this film, but they were.
I thought it was sick the way that they portrayed it. That was cool.
Yes. So super interesting and cool, and they're incredibly trained, and everything is heightened because of the spice.
And they didn't. And I mean, this was like I think it was good because I mean if you kind of like explain everything to the audience, it gets a little boring. So I'm glad that they actually didn't, because it was just like a what the fuck, and then they just moved on.
Yeah.
It was just like it was towards the beginning of the movie where they were like where the emperor was coming down, like, or not the emperor, but like the emperor's people were coming down to meet the Atreides family, and yeah, you just see what's his face's eyes like go white for a second while he's like doing a really quick computing in his head.
So the thing that's kind of cool about, and I'm sure we'll get more on it in the next movie, but so Paul kind of secretly received this training as a mentat.
Interesting.
And that combined with his Bene Gesserit training from his mother is really what kind of, made him why everyone thinks he is.
And can we all just like mention really quick, I mean, the real star of the film, the mother Bene Gesserit.
The Reverend Mother.
Yes, the Reverend Mother
is like she 100% the star of the film. She is my spirit animal.
Oh, she's so scary.
I am upset. I don't know what it is, and I'm like, forgive me for like putting like all gay men in one like one big pot, but
clump.
Like I think that we all wish that we were like fierce old women. I don't know.
Charlotte. Well, you all wish you were Charlotte Rampling. Is what
Yeah, you're right.
Yes.
Or Elaine Stritch. I think we all just like we all want to be that chick. Whatever. I don't know what it is, but there's something about it. I think she's just the greatest character in the film.
Yeah,
just all sass, just like no bullshit, just all sass.
Fucking bullshit. Yeah, and she's just like, don't die.
Yeah.
Like, put the hand in your box.
Yes.
What happens if I take it out? You're fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now go fuck yourself.
All right, I'll breeze through these last three things, and then I really want to just
dive in.
But
yeah.
So there's no there was, but it was very light, and you might miss it if you blink. There was no traitor subplot in the film. So it makes it the movie makes it clear that there is some sort of traitor within the House of Atreides.
Sure.
Which obviously we learn later on that it is Dr. Yue.
Yeah, right.
But there's this huge subplot where they try to convince Leto that it's his wife, and not his wife. It's Lady Jessica,
his mistress. Yeah.
His concubine. Excuse me. Sorry.
His concubine.
So sorry. And there's all this crazy stuff when they arrive in Arrakis. And you briefly see the greenhouse in this movie, but very, very like I said, blink and you'll miss it. Lady Jessica finds this greenhouse, and it's like one of the coolest scenes in the book. She finds like in this little teeny vial a note rolled up really tight, hidden among the plants in this greenhouse. A note.
That's what you call a Nat 20 investigation check.
Oh, right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and she just she's a Bene Gesserit, so she has a feeling that even with the fact that there's like all this like lush greenery and stuff in the middle of the desert where they are now,
her passive perception
that
is
something is in there, and it's a letter from a Bene Gesserit who was there previously, saying that they had been that there was deception and that there was a traitor, and someone is going to try to kill Paul.
Cool.
So that scene was completely missing. I understand why it had to go away. We could sort of, go from A to C there with Dr. Yue.
Sure.
But that was something. And then last two things, the finale in this film, the final fight, sorry, not necessarily the finale, but that does happen at the very end of the movie. That's in a different spot in the book.
Oh, is that right?
So in the
book,
they
needed some kind of a finale.
Right. In the book, they're brought to Sietch Tabar, and then the challenge gets issued a little bit later on.
That checks out.
Yeah, but so there's that, and then the very last thing is that in this version, right before Paul is about to fight, Chani doesn't really offer him anything. In the book, she offers him help. So she tells him that Jamis is a skilled warrior, and then she gives him her crysknife so that he can die with honor. And Chani's sort of attitude towards Paul in that moment was just written and directed very differently from how she's portrayed in the book.
Well, I mean, in her defense, it's this first film for her was basically just like,
Oh yeah, she was in 7.5 minutes of this movie. So
it was an extended perfume commercial for her.
Exactly, but she ultimately gives Paul the advice that helps him win in that duel. So that's
in the book, you mean?
Yes, in the book.
Yeah.
So those are the big, which, like I said before, that's like 6 or 7 things that are really, quote unquote, very different from film.
But,
to book.
Going back to that moment, I was curious. So, like, I guess it makes sense just because in the book, if it's later, like when she's actually like already been with him for a little bit,
yes,
right?
Correct.
So, like, they've kind of gotten to know each other.
Yeah,
so
they're not
it
like
makes
complete strangers, other than his dream.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that checks out. It makes sense that they would change it.
Yeah, for sure. And
very
that was really
interesting.
it. I mean, there were a few other little subtle things, but look, those were the main differences.
Okay, so I do have several questions for you.
All right, I'll do my best to answer them.
Yeah, and if you can't answer, it's totally fine. But I just want to and we could even just talk about it. But
Okay.
And I have no questions for you.
I have no questions. No further
I'm not
questions, Your
interested.
Honor.
I'm not
Cool.
remotely interested in what we're talking about.
The defense rests. So his visions,
Yes.
Paul's visions,
Mm-hmm.
in the film were kind of portrayed as like, visions of the future or futures question mark,
Yeah.
and it was a little they didn't really explain it, which I think is good because it adds a lot of mystery, and you're like, what? And like it looks like what's going to be the future, and then what ends up happening is like not at all what happens. So
Sure.
I'm actually curious if it portrays it the same way in the book or differently.
It does. It does portray it. His dream sequences in the film are almost exactly how they're written in the book.
Oh wow, amazing.
Yeah,
And
so it's sort of this like mysterious, and sometimes, it'll be like, and then and then you like are aware that Paul is dreaming, and then
Mhm.
sometimes it's like he wakes up and he tells his mother about the dream. Does that make sense?
Gotcha. Yeah.
So it's not like
Yes.
written like, here's Paul's dream. It's like, yes, mother, and then this is what I dreamt.
And now I can't remember if you told me this or if this is something I heard from somebody else, but somebody told me that his visions, that he doesn't just see like the future, he sees like all futures, kind of like Doctor Strange-esque. Like,
Yeah, I would say that's
a
a valid
sense.
statement. Mm-hmm.
kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't.
Can
like,
he see them in full? Or is it like looking through a keyhole and seeing?
I think
Assumedly now, since he doesn't
Hits.
really understand what he's necessarily looking at yet, it's probably like that. It's probably like a little more. It's not as broad as like a Doctor Strange.
Right.
It's more of like I'm seeing something, but I don't really know what it means.
Yeah,
yet.
well, and he's
Yeah.
like you said, Daniel, like he's not aware if these dreams or these visions are exactly what's going to happen, or if
Mhm.
they're like a possibility of what could
Yeah.
happen based on how things are currently going.
Oh, bitch! But let's get into some freaking Matrix shit right now. Like, would he have made the choice that he made had he not seen the vision? Ooh,
I mean, probably not.
yeah.
No, I don't.
I
And
don't think so.
You know what I'm talking
don't
about
think
as far
so.
as the
Yeah.
Matrix, yeah, right? Like,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure. No, I think like we see that a couple of times in the film where he is aware, like, you can sort of see his like the wheels turning. Like he's like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
right.
this was my dream, but now that has gone differently." Like when Duncan Idaho like sacrifices himself, like that was a
Mhm,
different
Mhm.
situation, So,
One thing that I know that they explain more in the book, and maybe it's in maybe it's deeper into the books, or like
okay, next two books possibly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But the side plot of, well, I'm not sure if it's a side plot, but that the Bene Gesserit has been like cultivating
Yep.
this one,
Yeah.
like the prophesied one, like for many, many years.
Correct.
And sort of like in secret, and like,
And they're
like,
also like
genetic spies.
Yes, and they're also so crazy because their influence on everything political. I mean, like they're like the puppet masters for
Yeah.
everything.
I'm obsessed with that. I think that's such a cool story. So I really hope that they lean into that. But I mean, I also love the fact that it's super mysterious too. But I do hope that they dip their toes a little bit more into it in part 2.
Oh, I think they definitely will.
It feels like they are, right? I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. They're just saving it because it's like,
and like I'm only like maybe 100 pages into the second book, but yeah, we're gonna see some crazy stuff.
we're gonna get to see some crazy shit. The other, this is my other question for you.
Mhm.
And I think I did ask you this like before, but since we're on, we're recording, I want to ask you again, and also because I forgot. Oh god, spooky guy, oil, gross.
The Baron.
Yes,
Baron
the Baron.
Harkonnen.
Thank you. The character of the Baron, and he is. That was one of the things I was just like, I think I understand why they changed it, but also I'm not sure whether or not they're just saving a lot of like his grossness for part 2. But in from what I understand in the books and also in the original version, like he's a homosexual.
Yes. That was
but like, obviously that's not supposed to be the spooky thing.
Right. Well, and that's why it
terrifying.
was that's why it was taken out, because it's like for some reason that was the thing that everyone was like, "Oh, he's so scary. He's gay."
Oh god.
Not the fact that he's like a sociopathic murderer, not
Right.
that. But
yeah, and I think that they like,
he's Denis has said it was intentional that his part was so small in this film because we're going to get way more of him coming up.
yes.
And like you said earlier, it was sort of his goal to have the mother-son relationship and the sort of the Atreides family story be the forefront of this movie.
Which makes all the sense. But yeah, so I guess what I'm talking about, like in the original film, they like they went like, pedal to the metal with that guy.
There was some weird stuff.
So gross and weird.
Man.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, like his deformities and his like sickness. Well, actually, and that's something that they didn't touch in this new film is and they didn't really touch on it like in the old film either, like why he was the way he was, like the curse that the Bene Gesserit put on him. Which I hope that they eventually sort of maybe touch on at least a little bit. But yeah, he wasn't nearly as gross as I thought he was gonna be, because I was just like, ooh, with all these like new, like technology and graphics and stuff like that, they're gonna make him look so gross. And then I was like, oh, he's
I think
like,
he was just gross enough.
just gross
Well,
enough.
and I
suppose.
remembered Denis and Stellan Skarsgård, who plays Baron. They had a discussion very early on when Denis was pitching him the movie, and said that you think of him like a rhino, like he's, and they built his. I don't know how much the prosthetics weighed, but it was apparently a great deal. But he said the idea was to be like build him like a rhino and just make him a physically I think they leaned more into the physically imposing than the grotesque.
Gross, yeah.
But
Because
But,
like the original character, if you haven't seen the film, he's like literally like pus popping.
Yeah,
like,
it is so nasty.
Tubes of goo, and it's just.
And to be fair, that's
awful.
how he's written in the book.
Well,
like
yeah,
he is
so
from the moment that you read anything about him. Like I think I was just no one can see my face, but I was
just
just like ugh,
Like
ugh.
you smell something bad, even though you're like,
Gross.
yeah.
Like, get some moisturizer.
So I guess like I don't know if I'm like necessarily. I mean, yeah, I guess that may be the only thing I'm not like. I was kind of like I was expecting more. I was expecting, I was expecting to see him be. I mean, he is very imposing, and just his
Really, him coming out of that
is-
spooky oil bath didn't give
Oh,
you
yeah.
nightmares.
Yeah, that was awful.
Ugh.
I loved that. But yeah, I did want to see him. I because like he was effing terrifying in the original film, just because he was like such a wild card, especially like where they basically like feed him in a sense,
Mhm.
like these young like men.
Mm-hmm.
They come into the room and like he like pulls the tube out of their chest and like blood squirts everywhere. He like puts it all over his face. It's awful.
Yeah, it's very,
so
very,
disgusting.
very gross.
Was
And-
that all in the book? Because I was uneducated, obviously, but when I first saw that, I was like, it feels like liberties have been taken here. Was that in the book?
I don't
See,
think
like-
that that's in the book.
It's not okay. That is what I was very curious
No,
about.
that part was added, and I think that was like that was one of the parts from that film that people were like, what the
That was a product.
Why?
That was a part we call the 1980s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen a lot of that in the 1980s.
Yeah, it's like,
I
what-
mean,
why? Why did
it's-
that? Why?
It is problematic. It's horrifying, but yeah, potentially problematic. Just like comparing homosexuality to like like
No, the book
chi-
is not
child
if-
murderers.
Yeah, exactly. The book is
I mean, I've
not
known that to be
not
true.
that
Well, yeah, right, obviously.
It's not that homophobic.
It's
So-
not. Yeah. Okay.
It's like it's suggested that he
Yeah.
is with men, but it's not. It's not
But
the way they.
it's not. It doesn't make it part of his grotesqueness.
Right. It's not part of the. Yeah. Right.
No.
Yeah. Right. And I think I understand why. They kind of did a little wink and a nod, I think, like in one of the when he's taking that oil bath at the
Mm-hmm.
end, because they do have like a younger like bald guy there in like this like clear poncho that's like sort of like tending to him.
Mhm.
You know, the one that's like pouring some of the
Yes,
things
yeah.
into the like they obviously don't show him like smacking him on the ass on the way out or something like that, but like you could assume
Sure.
that maybe there's some spooky things going on between the two of them. But yeah.
Honestly, he's a spooky guy. So
He's just a spooky guy, very spooky. But yeah, that was one of the interesting differences
Mhm.
that I noticed, and I was like, and also I thought too that I was like, ooh, maybe because they show him getting that was another main difference, because I think in the original film he completely misses the tooth death gas. But in this version, and I'm actually
Yeah,
curious if in the book it's the same way, that he does take on like a fair amount of the spooky gas.
he does not in the book.
in the book
In the book, he is able to get out of the room before
it happens.
Yeah.
So the original movie was actually more on point with that. That's
Mhm.
interesting. So I am curious if they're going to use that as a means to show
like some of his more like deformities in the next movie.
Yeah, like as he develops into a more like grotesque.
I
disgusting.
can get on board with that justification.
Yeah. Same. I kind of hope that that's the case, but if not, I mean, it's gonna be fine. I'm gonna curb my expectations.
Yeah, maybe
but
he
yes.
has to like live in that oil stuff like all the time, or else he starts, boiling out again.
Yeah, and I don't know if this has ever been like, I'm sure it's been talked about by other people, but I'm just not sure if it's ever been talked about by George Lucas. But I'm wondering if that was one of the things that inspired the Bacta tanks.
Sure.
Could be.
Maybe
Um,
could be.
yeah. So, other thoughts, other feelings overall.
Well, many.
yeah.
so
many.
Let's talk about them.
I think my MVP of the movie was Rebecca Ferguson as Lady Jessica.
Yes,
Oh, she's
she was
so
great.
good.
I felt like she stole the show.
But you're wrong. It's the mother. It's the Reverend Mother. She's like.
It was the Reverend Mother. It was the Reverend Mother.
No,
Well,
but
actually,
Plaque,
I'm thinking very specifically of the Gom Jabbar scene with
Ooh.
with the Reverend Mother and
Man, like the mother,
And
like
Paul.
sitting outside, knowing what's happening,
and
her just, like,
the
saying the
very
prayer.
right, like the very brief discussion she has with Paul as she's about to leave the room. She's like, "Please do everything she says."
Because she is
She knows.
she's willingly putting her son in mortal danger.
Well,
Like,
she has no choice, but yes.
yeah, and right. She pretty much has no choice. But there's a fabulous interview with Denis about this scene in general, like that he literally breaks down the scene like second by second almost, and it's so.
Well, I think it's
interesting.
a tribute to how much he cares about the books
Mhm.
because in the first adaption film, Lady Jessica is like nothing. I feel like
Right.
like she's nothing. And Denis has said in multiple things, like when he was working on the screenplay for this, he did not want her to feel like some random secondary character.
Yeah.
Right.
Like she's a huge, huge part of this story.
Yeah.
And that transferred so well into her
Mhm.
performance, and yeah, just such a rich, interesting character.
Her ability to whip out those tears, like
Woo!
just at a moment's notice, is
Good
just
Lord, yeah.
so good.
Well, and to your point, Alyssa, they even dive a little bit into her
My butt.
relationship with.
Oh, sorry.
I'm not going to call her the husband, but
Yeah.
but that's the point I'm making is that why, or like what is our relationship here? Like we love each other deeply, but there's something like there's something we can't fulfill in each other.
There's still something that's transactional happening.
Well,
Something missing.
Yeah, that's a fascinating point to bring up, because the sort of decision, and then we see this in the next Dune books, because Chani becomes Paul's concubine. They don't marry. He marries
Right.
someone else to gain like more political power, because she's a princess.
Right. So what happens to Zendaya at that point?
Oh, she's a concubine. She's still there. They are partners. Chani and Paul are partners, and the marriage between Paul and Princess Irulan is merely transactional.
Oh, I
Political.
got you. So he's still like hella in love with.
Right. And so
Chani.
it's
Got
sort of an interesting mirror to his parents' relationship, because Leto never marries.
Got it.
Because
Yeah.
he feels that
So odd.
having like an actual spouse would diminish his power.
Well, and he even expresses it. Speaking of the Bene Gesserit, he is really not on board with
He
Right.
doesn't like
that
it.
nonsense.
Yeah.
Right. And so he loves Lady Jessica, and they're partners. Like,
Right.
it's interesting to look at from the scopes of people who believe in, marriage or don't believe in marriage, because I have plenty of people who are like, yeah, I'm with my person, I'm with my partner forever, but we'll never be married because,
So-
of ABC. But
in the George Lucas reading these books,
mhm.
like, is he considering the Bene Gesserit the Jedi?
I don't.
I don't know.
The Bene Gesserit feel like the Sith to me.
They
I mean,
really
they
do.
do
They
kinda
feel like
feel
the
like that.
Sith, because they're like immensely powerful, but there's a darkness underneath them.
Yeah.
Always.
Because it's always in the shadows.
Yes,
And
and it's like
conniving
this sort of.
and manipulative.
It's eugenics. I mean, it's like they're kind of space fascists a little bit.
Oh yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, there's
Like
space witches.
like scary. Yeah, yeah.
So, but it's
don't-
interesting because so the light side is kind of born from the dark in a sense.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
don't know if
I
we
think it's
can-
also the gray area of there's both light and dark
Right.
in us, and it's what you choose to act on to
Mhm.
go
But
with the
Paul-
Harry Potter route. But
So Paul kind of is sort of like our Darth Vader of the story, where he like kind of, well, maybe
or
not
Anakin.
Anakin.
Anakin. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean the Kwisatz Haderach, the chosen one,
Mhm.
Yeah.
the
Right.
I mean, yeah, the Messiah. I mean, if
Yeah.
all of these stories take from either mythology or religion or a combination of both, and yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, Paul is Anakin Skywalker or the chosen one, whoever.
Sure.
Sorry, Dino.
Uh,
Before we went on that tangent, you were talking about
I'm so
something.
sorry.
Well, but, I mean, the tangent was Lady Jessica, and
Yeah, yes.
or rather, my original point was Lady Jessica.
Just being a dope ass actress.
Yeah, no, I love, as we've been talking about, that the movie put their relationship at the forefront and all the complications involved
Mhm.
with that. I think my favorite scene of the movie that kind of sits outside all of the character drama is when we go to the very, very briefly, we go to the Imperial Homeworld
Oh,
of
yeah.
Seleucus Secundus.
Fucking
And-
creepy.
And we get our first look at the Sadukar, the Imperial army, but it's the it's the throat singer. It's
Yes.
the throat chanting monk. And I swear to God, so again, I saw this on the biggest IMAX screen imaginable with Dolby surround sound. I mean,
Right.
That shit
everything.
is like.
I felt that man's voice
In your
in
body.
my chest.
Yeah.
I it's not an exaggeration. Like I
Yeah.
was vibrating. It was like, oh my God, this is.
And this is another testament to frickin' what's his face? What am I crazy? Wasn't this Hans Zimmer?
This was
Yes.
Hans Zimmer.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna talk about that. That's.
Oh,
my,
I bet.
think that is my favorite part.
I had a
I
feeling.
figured you were going to need to bear your testimony about Hans Zimmer for a while today.
But yeah,
Speak my
as
truth.
we are all very well aware that Hans Zimmer is the king, the master, the emperor of anxiety. He
God.
Yes.
knows how to make us all very anxious. At like just one sound is all we need, and he's just knows exactly how to make us feel so uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
yeah. I mean, the king of environmental
Mm-hmm.
music. Yeah. like,
Yes.
His music just. This is a
If-
generalization. But compare him to John Williams.
Sure.
Where John Williams, you can hum everything he has ever written.
Totally.
Hans Zimmer, it's
Not
a
so much.
feeling. It's
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's-
You can
It
remember
is that,
how
like-
awful you
reverberating-
felt,
Yeah.
but not what it sounded like.
right. It's the reverberating in your chest, like the. Oh my God, it was so disconcerting, and there were several moments like that.
He's like the spatial audio of
Yeah.
Yes,
of film composers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
and not to reduce his work by any means, because it's genius. It's quite the it's genius.
Yeah.
But I think about like the last time I was. I can't believe I'm even saying this. The last time I went and had acupuncture done.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
So
I love
they
it.
do it,
I'm
and then they
very
leave the
excited to
room,
hear
and
where
they
this is going.
they're playing this music for what? Yeah, it's like the Gom Jabbar scene, honestly. But they play this music that it's like it's not like yoga necessarily, but it's kind of a chanting.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I think of Hans
Like Gregorian
Zimmer's
chant,
Dune
kinda?
score, sorry.
Like Gregorian chant, kind of.
No, I wish it was Gregorian. Very Baroque. No, it's just very ethereal. And I was sitting there thinking, man, if they ratcheted up the intensity and the volume of this music to like a 15, you have the Dune score.
Oh,
Sure.
interesting.
And that's all I thought about for 30 minutes face down was
Just
like,
Standing still, like lying
this would
completely
be
still.
Dune
Yeah.
if it was 10 times louder.
Hey,
Just-
Oh, I know. I was like, who do I gotta pay to sing on the next Dune soundtrack, but I also think that I would get massive giggles like the entire time.
Oh my god, yes.
But so
I can't remember the name of that chick, but wow, she's got a fierce ass voice.
who?
The one that does that, like, hey,
Oh.
Oh yeah.
Yes. But in line with other Hans Zimmer scores, and I think about like Dark Knight.
Oh, Dark Knight is so good.
That's probably his
Oh,
most
yeah.
like the
Gladiator
one that you
and-
could actually
Gladiator.
potentially hum. That and
Oh
Inception.
yes,
are
you can
probably-
hum Dark Knight,
Yeah.
but he actually, like those movies, he invented instruments to create
Yeah.
the sounds he wanted. So for this one in
Right.
particular, they built a and this is from a New York Times spread they did on the music of this movie. They built a 21-foot horn,
So cool.
a supersized version of an Armenian woodwind instrument.
Oh my gosh.
Why it
And
had
then,
to be 20 feet tall is just beyond me, but it's so cool.
And this guy Guthrie Govan, he plays a slide guitar on YouTube, and Hans Zimmer discovered him on YouTube and brought him in. And he describes working with Hans, and he says he'll outline the desired end result rather than prescribing a specific means of getting there. And so he cites a specific example. He says, for one cue, he just said, "This needs to sound like sand."
Cool. Super specific.
And
Thanks
it
for the
did.
note.
It really did, though.
And it did. It did.
Oh gosh,
Um,
he sounds like all of our like worst nightmare of like a director. Like you
Right.
know, like I want
It's
you to say
the-
this next line, but like as you were like a chicken's feather.
Yeah, right.
And then this
Sure.
other guy, his name's Chaz Smith, and a little background. So because they were recording the score during COVID, a lot of this was done remotely, which
Oh,
actually
interesting.
allowed them to get creative based on where they were in the world. And so this guy, Chaz Smith, says was working in his isolation in a barn in rural California, struck, scraped, and scratched various metallic instruments of his own invention, including one made from springs and saw blades, and another one made from a super alloy used in cryogenic storage tanks and SpaceX engines.
What? What?
Just.
Oh
like,
my gosh, that's amazing.
Oh, and then of course the 30 Highland bagpipers who
Yes.
do the Atreides theme song. which
effing
is,
cool as hell.
Wow,
It just when I read that I was like,
that's
Only
so
Hans.
weird
Just imagine
and
sitting
so
at home.
wonderful. Yeah.
yeah, sitting at home getting a call from Hans. He's like, okay, so for this cue, I need it to sound like sand, and then he just hangs up.
It kind of reminds me of you I can't remember. You guys watched Lost or you didn't watch Lost?
I did.
Yes.
You did. Like I don't know if you ever saw any of the behind the scenes stuff, but the guy who wrote the music for it, he I mean, for those of you who haven't seen Lost, I mean, the pilot episode is like a plane crashes on an island, and then they're all like the survivors are trying to like figure out where the hell they are. So the music guy like took pieces from the fuselage and created instruments out
Oh,
of
wow.
out of
Was
the,
that Michael?
Oh, it's
Giacchino?
Michael Giacchino. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who
So I
we
yeah,
talk
when
about
people
almost
do-
weekly on this podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so fucking cool. So I mean, just when people do like innovative, because it does it just makes your and I think that Hans Zimmer does this really well too. It just like it creates a sound for your film that's so unique that you just immediately go, oh yeah, that's
Well,
the Dune
yeah,
sound.
and when it's so incredibly innovative, it becomes it not only textures and layers, everything that you're looking at, it becomes like this other character,
totally.
Yes.
and
Yes.
And
And it makes those moments so special when you know what, it's like when certain themes happen, like the frickin' Force theme always makes me cry because it brings me back to that, that moment where you
have
it
a very
creates
specific
feeling.
like sense memory attached to it.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so smart. They're getting paid the big bucks for a reason. Yeah.
We haven't even talked about Timothy Chalamet as Paul.
Oh, guy,
He was
freaking
fine.
nailed it.
I just
Yeah,
kidding.
he's
I mean,
fine.
No,
He's
he was
fine.
he was
He
great.
totally nailed it.
He was
He's
great.
had an okay year.
Yeah, I guess so.
His agent is working very well for him.
Honestly,
right now.
he's so great. Anytime it's announced that he's in something, I'm always he's someone that I'm always like, oh, really? Yeah, he's great. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's such a different character from this other thing that he's done. But okay,
Yeah.
great. Like I felt that way when they said he was going to be Laurie in the new Little Women adaptation, and I was like,
Oh,
holy
right,
crap,
Which he
he's
was
like
terrific.
my favorite Laurie that I've ever seen.
Yeah, but by
Yes.
far, he's terrific.
Yeah,
Right
he's
now.
a
So
great
interesting.
actor. He, I think, is a perfect choice for Paul. Yeah.
I love his dynamic with his dad, Oscar Isaac, and
Mhm.
Totally.
And
yeah,
actually,
oh my
I
God,
loved
it was
how
such a
this
sweet
movie.
thing.
Well, yeah, I love their relationship in particular because it strays from a lot of depictions of fathers and sons. And I'm blanking on a specific example to give you, but
But he
where
actually
the
gives
father,
him legit good advice.
right, and it's not just this relentless pressure to live up to an expectation.
Right.
He
Right.
flat out tells him, it's like, yeah, I want you to be a leader, but at the end of the day, if you don't want to do that, you'll still be the one thing I care about most, and that's my son.
That's my child.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
oh my
sweet.
good God.
Yeah.
Which is such a lovely father-son relationship to see, especially with someone as politically powerful and driven as Leto. To see the softness in him when it comes to
Mhm.
Paul
Yeah.
is really lovely.
I don't know why you making me think because it's because of the scene where they're at. They're in the like graveyard of all of their ancestors. They were kind of zooming in a lot on the dad's dad, so
Mm-hmm.
grandpa, who like was a bullfighter, I guess. And it seems like that's foreshadowing. I assume. Like, I mean, for numerous things. It's obviously just for context and for like world building and character building.
Yeah,
like,
he's brought up a lot in the book.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, there's this huge painting of him that when they're
Right.
moving into the new, grounds in Arrakis, Lady Jessica is like, where do you want this? There's like a whole scene where Leto is like, it was a very complicated father-son relationship. So you can see how he's sort of done the complete opposite with Paul.
Right.
To
Yeah,
what
he's
his
just like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, the way that he was with his father is polar opposites with how he was with Paul. So,
But what's interesting is that he does end up becoming a leader
mhm.
and also kind of a bullfighter in a sense because he like
with the worms,
Yeah, he learns how to ride the worms. Totally.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I really liked that the direction and the sort of central point of this film was the family connection, because it would be very easy to go and do all of the the weird sci-fi stuff and
So easily
and
to get
all
distracted.
that's why I think that ultimately like the Mentat stuff was pulled from this film, because like
Makes sense.
it's like we could do like a scene where we focus on that, or we could have an extra scene with Lady Jessica and Paul, or an extra scene with the Duke and Paul, and
They still managed to do like a heavy dusting of like some really good world building details. Like one that just came to my head was the tent that they have, like their little sand tent or whatever, like where he has this like dream sequence and he's like freaking out with his mom.
yes,
But like before that, they, or was it after? Before or after? I can't remember. They show the little mouse.
the little sand mouse thingy.
The sand mouse,
Mhm.
yeah. And they give us like a really deep close up of like their ears and the moisture that collects in there.
Mm-hmm.
And just seeing that's like the connection between nature and the technology that they've created, that's sort of like based off of this this thing that comes in nature. I that kind of detail I just think is like so yummy because like it just they don't like say it out loud, but like it's pretty clear what they're trying to like like there's a reason this stuff exists, but we're not going to explain it, but you can fill in the blank.
use your imagination and put two and two together for
Oh,
sure.
but yeah. So I should explain. So that the tent being that it also collects the moisture like the
Like-
mouse ears.
Like
yeah.
the mouse. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Everybody's drinking their own pee.
Pee
And sweat.
Mm.
Delicious.
it is kind of genius though.
It is. Why aren't we all
I-
drinking our pee and sweat?
Because we don't live.
I don't know.
We
it's-
don't live in the Dune.
Yeah, not yet. This
Uh,
is your in town. Okay. Oh, there it was.
I was thinking about.
There we go. 1 hour in, we finally got it.
We
in there.
finally got it.
Poor Josh Brolin, and I say poor Josh Brolin because he was great as Gurney.
So good.
But anytime he speaks now, I only hear Thanos.
You're just
and,
like, no.
I know.
And it's particularly that line that was in the trailer as well when they're at the big Atreides ceremony and the Emperor's ambassador comes and Leto turns to him and goes, "Smile, Gurney." "I am smiling."
So
Thanos.
He's nice Thanos now.
Yeah, he is.
He was great. Jason Momoa is great as Duncan
So
Idaho.
great.
Yes.
Another character that, from what I understand in the books, gets a lot more.
Oh yes, he's a very.
I hear he
very-
gets weird, like going way down the past book 2 into book 3, and
Dang.
some stuff
Yep.
happens.
Yeah.
So
Anyway.
they really nipped him out of the story pretty fast.
They
But I
did.
guess it's something. Yeah. Again, like you don't need all these other
Yeah,
distractions.
it's like, yeah,
You need a little
they very well could
concise.
keep it in, but then we would just be needing to have 8-hour films, and this is not a television show; it's a movie. So
Oh, you know what? And this might
What?
be an unpopular opinion, but one thing that I do think that the original film did better, and which is crazy, and this is insane, but I kind of almost like their version of the body shielding. I can't remember what it's called, but
Mm-hmm.
like the way that it's depicted in the original film as opposed to this one.
the
I
suit,
think it
the
was,
suits,
don't
the
get-
still suits, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, when they turn on the little shield and it makes them kind of like.
Oh, that. Yes, I know what you're
Yeah.
talking about. Yeah, what the heck?
but-
Yeah, it's called the something shield. Yes.
Yeah, I can't remember.
can't
the name of
remember
it.
the
But
name.
yeah, in the original film, it's like I think it's just because it's so different and weird. Like it showed of like these like weird like shapes, like square shapes around them that kind of move.
Yes.
Like really weird and like somehow that to me like because I think it just because it felt like this new version it's I don't know it felt maybe not as inventive visually, but
Yeah.
that's nitpicking. That's a nitpicking
Well, yeah,
thing.
your opinion is generally dumb, so
Yeah, you're right.
gonna discount that.
You're
I'm actually
right.
probably
Yeah.
just going to edit this whole entire conversation out.
Yeah.
Fine.
We were talking about how beautiful this movie is, and it should be worth noting that Greg Fraser is the cinematographer. He is responsible for Rogue One.
I was going to say, I know that name, but why do I know it? There you
He's
go.
responsible for Zero Dark 30. He is
Mhm.
he just wrapped up the Batman.
Oh,
Batman.
dang.
So he's
So
into like
he's got some street cred in terms of
Yeah.
moody environment and
fight scenes.
Rogue One in particular. I was like, when I read it was him, and then kind of watching Dune, and then thinking back to Rogue One, and I was like, oh yeah, absolutely, his fingerprints are all over this.
It's just that like like if there's ever a war sequence, like
Mhm.
he's
Yeah.
well, he's the guy to go to apparently.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
You know, my initial, I didn't say this at the beginning, but my initial reaction walking out of Dune, several people asked me in the days afterwards, did you like it?
Mm-hmm.
and I felt like I couldn't answer that simple question. It was like I'm not sure because I don't know what happened. I don't know what just happened.
Because it was just so
Like,
overwhelming.
So
and I don't even
massive.
mean from like a plot standpoint. It was just like it was a lot, and then it ended so abruptly. It felt very like ending of the Fellowship of the Ring to me. Where like we're ending it right here.
What?
Yeah, that was one thing
What?
that a lot of people were like, "Oh, we're not even going to sort of go into the fact that
We're not
there's
gonna get
someone
going, we're
riding
just-
a sandworm right now."
Yeah. Whoa,
Okay.
What about that? Now you, I can't remember, Dino. Did you see the original film before or after you saw the?
It had been a long time. I had seen the original film, but I couldn't
it.
have recited the plot to you.
No,
I've since
I mean,
watched
who
it
could?
again.
Who could?
I mean, yes, just the scene at the end with the raining. I was like, I don't.
Yeah,
don't
huh?
get it. Like, I don't. So I'm not sure. Like, I guess the long and short is yes, I very much liked it. I'm still trying to come up with reasons why, because I haven't seen it again. That's part of the problem.
I did go see it twice.
Yeah, I watched it. I
I
watched
need
it at
another go-through.
at home when it was still on HBO.
Yeah, so I spent like almost $50 watching that.
Oh my
movie
gosh,
in
you
Yeah.
saw it
IMAX.
twice in theaters?
I saw it twice
Oh
in
my gosh,
theaters.
Daniel,
Yeah.
jeez.
I
know.
wanted to do the same thing because immediately when I walked out, I was like,
I know I missed
Huh.
so many things. Yeah,
Huh.
sure.
but good for that movie for making us think.
Hmm
I think you really have to go in with your ears open
Yeah.
and super attentive because I do like that they just kind of drop you in the middle of the story and then you kind of piece it
Mhm.
together.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, there was a trust in the audience that felt really nice. And granted, I read the book just barely, but
Right.
Sure.
I always appreciate that, being like, okay, the writers and the directors are trusting us to jump in and
They're not treating us like idiots.
Yeah. So
Totally. Yeah, that is appreciated.
yeah, because sometimes I feel a little bit like I'm like a baby,
Yeah.
They're like,
Right.
Here
like
you
just
go.
spoon-feeding you.
Here's a
This is
little
the way that you're supposed to
applesauce
feel
bite."
about this.
You understand, little baby?
You idiot.
Well, and it just gave them more room to mind the personal relationships instead
Yeah.
of
I
trying
would
to
be
beat us over the head with
interested
what's happening.
if you. I'm not even going to ask Daniel to, but Dino, I think you should try to read the book before seeing the next one. I'm not even going to try to ask
No,
Daniel.
But no,
to-
truthfully, it is one that I very, very much
or
want
listen to
read.
it. Listen to it on tape.
Yeah.
Like that's going to take a really long time, but like if
Yeah,
you're
right.
if you're driving a lot or if you're, I know
Which we
Daniel,
do.
both
We
you
all
and I
do.
are about to start ramping back up into like running more.
Yeah,
That would be a great one to listen to on runs.
definitely.
So I just think that it will
A
enrich
Dune run.
the experience.
A Dune
for
run,
ya.
run, a Dune run.
Oh wow.
Dune. Dino
Dune.
said.
Well, anything else before?
Generally, I liked it.
Yeah. Anything else
Generally.
before we close up this episode that we thought was
Oh,
maybe going to be short?
I know.
I'll plug. Who thought this was going to be short?
We thought maybe like a 45-minute.
Absolutely.
why.
I thought at
Absolutely
least
not.
3 hours.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, truthfully, we really could go on.
We could
for-
talk
And most
about it
of
a
that
long
was
time.
going to be just me like long periods of silence trying to make sense of things. But this is the point in the show where I will plug West Side Story.
Oh, West Side Story
You saw
plug.
it.
I
haven't
saw
seen
it
yet.
Thursday night.
I'm thrilled. I can't wait.
I can't wait to see it.
And I say this generally as like I've always liked West Side Story. I
Mhm.
wouldn't say it is something that has resonated with me a ton
sure.
over the years.
I mean, the original version is problematic for numerous reasons, but it is a
Sure.
classic and gorgeous.
It is a
film.
classic. Yes.
Yeah.
Like both things can be true. It is a classic work of filmmaking, and it also
Yeah.
has
Problems.
many problems.
Yeah.
I will say something controversial as far as like that movie's status as a classic. I think, in my personal opinion, the new one blows it out of the water.
You
Wow.
wouldn't be alone.
Yeah.
I've heard.
And I think it is actually my favorite depiction of it be it on stage or on screen. I've
Oh
ever
my
seen.
gosh!
Wow.
Wow. Okay.
It's funny. There's the
Spielberg,
it's so common now that that jokes are starting to be made on Facebook. Like, I just wish that somebody would tell me that West Side Story was good.
Yeah, because everybody's just like,
it's literally everybody's statuses.
Look,
just
like, if Steven Spielberg has any interest in making any further movie musicals, I hope he does it because
Oof, me
he's the
too.
only one in recent memory who has figured out how to do it.
He nailed
Wow.
it.
Period.
Great.
That's so great. And I'm just curious too, like I mean obviously he knew the weight and the gravity that there was involved in remaking this film, and like the eyes that like the judgment eyes
yes.
that would be on this film,
Particularly from our community. Like I feel like we're
Yes.
always rushing to hate something.
Yeah, right.
And he
he
doesn't
handled it with
leave
care,
much room for
apparently.
that. I mean, like,
Yeah.
if you'll have your own feelings about it, I just don't think anybody could have left saying that wasn't a very good attempt at worst.
Sure,
Like, at worst, it is just a damn good attempt.
Yeah.
it's gonna be tough to make me not like, because it is some of the most gorgeous music
Mhm.
ever written in musical
Yeah.
theater.
Oh my God.
And like the second I hear the Tonight theme, I
Yeah.
immediately get severe chills.
Yeah.
Like,
You'll feel it.
yeah,
think.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Great.
Also, to be noted that I got my tickets to go see Spider-Man this week.
Happy
baby.
Spider Week.
Happy Spider Week,
What
everybody.
day are you going, Daniel?
I'm going. I am going opening
The night of?
Well,
Okay.
actually,
Great.
before opening night or whatever. Which I don't even understand why we call it opening night anymore. It doesn't make any sense.
There's not.
Like,
That doesn't
Thursday
exist
night.
really. You're going Thursday
Yeah.
night.
Thursday night is the opening
Gotcha.
night. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
I am unfortunately not able to go until Monday, the 20th. So I will be avoiding the internet, like
And us.
and
And
you
us.
and the two of you.
We will actually
Start another
I am,
chat. Do not say
yeah.
anything to
No,
me.
we are committing to actually not speaking to you until
Well, actually,
until
don't even
Monday.
say anything to
Yes.
each other. We got to keep it fresh for this.
I know. We know. We
you
will-
know.
I know
you
you're
I'm
not
going
gonna be able
say
to control
something
yourselves.
anyway.
I know.
I'm not listening to that. There's
You idiots.
who am I going to talk to for 3 days? I mean,
Oh
Yeah,
my
right.
gosh. Well,
Oh,
maybe I'll
shit.
just not sleep ever, and I'll just try to go on the opening.
no. I mean,
Do
take care of
it.
yourself, but also don't take care of yourself because
This is part of taking care of yourself. It is.
Yeah,
Yes.
it is. I know. I
It
wish
is.
that I wish that I was like, 10 years ago, Alyssa would be like, sleep is for losers. Yeah,
Yeah.
you idiot. But now I'm like, oh, my voice has to work every single day for 6
Yes.
hours a day. So I
Uh-huh.
cannot goof around,
You
unfortunately.
have to protect the gift.
Jeez.
well,
As it
when
were.
when we see the X-Men and Mephisto show up in the movie before
Oh.
you do, we'll be sure to keep it. We'll be sure to keep it on the
Oh
down low.
boy. Yeah. So definitely our next episode will be Spider-Man.
Hella.
And then we will circle back around to Eternals at some point because
we will.
It's
that's worth
definitely
talking about in terms of that corner of the MCU. So we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Maybe around the
And-
time of its release on Disney Plus.
Mostly because
Yeah.
we promised it, and
Well, and I do still want to talk about it on here. You
Right.
know?
Yes.
Well, I don't care. Yeah, I don't care about promises. I break them all the time. But
You hear that, ladies? He is available for dates.
and there's a reason
You
because
heard it. You heard
I'm
it
not a
fir-
man of my
you heard
word.
it first here. Oh boy.
I can't be trusted.
That is the at the top of his Bumble account.
Right.
Promises.
Trust me at your own peril.
That's what your bio is. Oh my god.
Oh boy.
I'm gonna change it. Maybe that will reverse my fortunes if I just play into
Yeah.
it. It's like I will ruin
Everybody
your
likes
life.
a bad boy, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
you're
will
just
ruin
gonna
your
get
life.
this like influx of crazy women that are like,
Mhm.
but I can change you.
There's a lot of those out there.
You will try.
Yeah, you will try.
Many have tried, many have failed. Well,
You underestimate my power.
From my point of view, the Jedi are evil.
Mm.
Okay.
Well, anyways, thanks for listening
Dune.
to us talk about Dune.
Dune.
Yep. We hope that you watched that movie and liked it like we did. And this is Inside the Tauntaun, a podcast in the multiverse of fandom. If you didn't already know, I'm Alyssa Simmons.
And I'm Daniel Dawson.
I'm Dino Nicandros.
May the Force be with you.
Always.
I'll see ya.
Inside the Tauntaun podcast. Please like and subscribe.